No drinks at embargo this weekend, computer forensics coming to Main Street, and the legislative session ends today, all on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Tuesday, July 31st, 2012. I'm Sarah Colvin. The lights will be out at embargo this weekend. The licensing authority handed down the punishment due to the restaurant recently operating with an expired liquor license.
Basically what happened was we received an email from Miss Aid stating that embargo had failed to pay for the second half of their license. We went to the establishment. Mr. Noble was not there. The person who represented herself as the manager knew nothing about it. And once Lieutenant Murphy left, obviously a phone call was placed to Mr. Noble, then asked, and then he went back to the establishment, asked Lieutenant Murphy to come back, and then asked to be forgiven for the fact that he hadn't paid. Unfortunately, if I could go on a little bit.
Go ahead.
Just the fact that Mr. Noble's not here, as you know, I'm sure in reading past articles in the paper, this seems to be a little bit of a reoccurring theme with him. Our intent was that he was going to be here and simply ask that some measures be taken so this doesn't happen in the future. Unfortunately, now he's not here. Our suggestion would be that he be found responsible for the fact that he actually operated without a license over a weekend and be suspended for those number of days based on that fact.
Director of Regulatory Services Tom Geiler says this is not the first time embargo has had issues with its license.
And I think it's important for the board to understand that in addition to the receipt of the license in December for the upcoming year, there's an explanation of the requirements in terms of being able to use the two-payment plan rather than pay it all up front. In addition to that, our office notifies all of the licensees that payment date is coming up. When we get to a day or two before the final day, they get phone calls to remind them. But this is not a case of gee, everybody just dropped the ball. When we made those phone calls, somebody answered, a message was left. Other times that the management had ample warning to understand what the due date was. This is not the first year that this has happened. I believe that at least last year it was the same situation in terms of having to call and having to call and having to call. So I would ask you to consider that as well.
Had owner David Noble been present, police and the licensing authorities say the outcome may have been different. But since Noble didn't show, the authority agreed to suspend the license for one weekend.
It's certainly something well within the structure of the licensing authority.
Okay, the motion.
I'd even suggest that you might even want to consider an additional charge at this particular point, in that he was ordered to appear. He's required to respond to the licensing authority. He did not appear. Even if you were just to find him guilty on that without another sanction, I think that should be part of the record.
Embargo must close its doors this Friday, August 3rd, and Saturday, August 4th. Barnstable Police will be before Town Council this week asking for funds to launch a computer forensics program in downtown Hyannis. Chief of Police Paul McDonald explains.
What the police department is going to do is going to open up a regional forensic team, computer forensic team. We are members of the Cape Cod Regional Law Enforcement Council, and that makes up all 15 towns throughout the Cape, plus the Sheriff's Department and the state police. And what we do is we provide regional services. Sometimes a single entity is too expensive for one department, so everybody chips in, and we provide a county-wide team, such as our SWAT team. Our SWAT team is made up of members throughout the entire Cape. Is based on the model of the street crime unit. This team is going to consist of, we're going to start off with 3 officers: a detective from the Barnstable Police Department, a deputy sheriff, and a state trooper. and they're going to be their primary mission of the team is to provide digital forensic assistance with investigation, solving, prosecuting, and convicting criminals on Cape Cod who violate the law and they leave digital evidence behind. Almost every major crime that we are currently involved in, a cell phone or a computer or some type of video or audio equipment has to be analyzed. The evidence has to be taken from that. Right now, currently, there's only one lab in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. When you send that stuff out to be forensically diagnosed, it takes months and months to get that stuff back. So what we've decided to create our own team.
The police are asking the council for $8,400. That'll pay for rent for offices above the Main Street station. Chief McDonald says this will allow research to be done right here instead of having to send it elsewhere.
But the turnaround time, rather than months, it should be days or the very most weeks. And we're going to prioritize everything to all the Cape Towns, the Sheriff's Department, and the State Police down here, including Nantucket. And, of course, we certainly will assist any other department who needs that type of assistance. You know, these three officers, they have very, very highly trained, and they have all the specialized equipment they need to go into these other computers, which is key, which is extremely expensive. There are two offices directly above the Hyannis Station that we are going to lease, and this serves a dual role for us. One, it provides us service for us right here in town. It's also in the off-season going to provide a permanent police presence down there on Main Street.
The chief hopes to have the team in place by the 1st of September. Town Council meets this Thursday night. It's crunch time for legislators on Beacon Hill. In a flurry of paperwork, the legislative session ends today. Senator Dan Wolf spent last night in Boston preparing for a night which he expects to burn the candle at both ends. Senator Wolf tells us some important legislation has passed.
Well, it is fast and furious, as they say, and I will say that I don't remember yesterday. No. The big events yesterday, and I think a really proud accomplishment for all of the folks in the Commonwealth, and I think especially our district, because the Cape and Island seems to be ahead on energy and planning a good energy future, was the energy bill, and that did get passed in both houses. It came out of conference late over the weekend, and it got passed yesterday by both houses. It got enacted in both houses, and I hope will be signed by the governor very shortly. And it's a very complicated bill. There's a lot in it relative to obligations of the utilities, but also, I think, more importantly for the folks listening, opportunities. And the one that excites me is that we doubled the net metering cap. It was at 3%, which means that the utilities were required to accept up to 3% of the power being created by renewable energy. And in the case of the public sector, it allowed for up to 2%, and in the case of the private sector, 1%. What they've done in this bill now, or what we've done in this bill, is both public and private sector have the capacity to input up to 3%. So it doubles the net metering, what's called the so-called net metering cap, which opens the door for a lot more renewable projects. And wearing my public hat relative to the Cape and Vineyard Energy Collaborative, which has a lot of projects on the boards, that's a huge opportunity. And then wearing my private hat, Cape Air just finished our second big project on a hangar at the airport. It allows private companies like Cape Air and others, and there's some real leaders in that. The bank the Cape Cod 5 did a big one, and there's a couple of developers putting together big renewable projects. What it does is it facilitates and it opens the door for more of those projects to get done both in the public and private sector. So this energy bill that was passed is really a wide sweeping reform bill that keeps Massachusetts in the front as far as energy conservation and efficiency. Massachusetts and California have been the two leaders nationally, and this bill will keep us. And again, people can go online, and it's probably a 30 or 40 or 50-page bill. There's a lot in it. People can sort of look at all the different aspects of it, but it's a very bill.
The legislative session ends today. With Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Colvin.